Can you do the roll call for us?
Yes. Jim Dillon,
Here.
Monica Hernandez,
Here.
Renee Ricketts.
Here.
And Annalise Wakefield is not here. Right?
Okay, any public comments?
Nope.
Okay, discussion items, local arts agency, any public comments?
No.
Okay, so I asked to get a better understanding of our plan. I understand we have a plan that we will be the designated local arts agency. It's starting in 2026.
Yes.
Is,
I think
okay,
that's about accurate, assuming we get the designation.
Our year would be, the start would be 2026.
that's, yeah, our year would start 2026. And how is the funding for that envisioned?
So last meeting, we had that meeting on the budget. There was a 5-year forecast.
Yes,
So as part of that 5-year forecast, I have put in requests every year for the next
Okay.
like 5 years.
okay,
Based on just discussions I've heard from you, from the community, of
Okay.
things that's needed. Of that 5-year forecast for the 2026 year, I've already put in an estimated 75,000 for future, that year and future years to match a local arts agency, because that's the current estimated
Yeah.
dollar amount per year they're currently giving, and that'll get adjusted.
should
if they
that
change it.
change?
Yeah.
So, so when you ask, is that coming out of like a general budget or do we care where it comes from? Or do we need to be lobbying?
You don't need
Not
to-
lobbying, that's, don't say that. Should we be
Advocating.
advising and advocating our supervisors, our respective supervisors?
At this point, I don't know what bucket they might be
Okay.
looking at. It's just as likely coming from CENRP bucket as it is the general fund. So those are really our only two
Okay.
sources of funding.
Oh, so it actually could come out of grant funding.
What
it
is
could, I don't know.
CENRP?
The Community Enhancement Neighborhood
Okay.
Reinvestment Program.
Okay, so that leads us to what I wanted to talk about. Okay.
But those are two
Could
different
we-
buckets,
They're
right?
two
Yeah, they
different
are two
buckets.
different
Could I ask a question about that? Is there a fair amount of administrative monies that come out of those grant dollars to run the programs?
To the community, I don't know. I don't know what the dollar statistics are
Yeah.
when on the reports, and then it would probably, and we don't have a reporting system currently that would break down
Right.
to
Is-
that level of detail, so it would just be a lot of manual work that I would have to
Okay,
request.
I'm just
that
curious,
to do.
because to me, this feels like potentially administrative money, because this is a $75,000 grant that the CAC requires that we give because they're giving us 75. So combined, we have 150 to spend,
Yes.
right?
Right,
And that 75 is actually we're keeping that 75, right?
Yes.
So in other words, it gives us a pool of 150. In a way, it could be like a grant from CENRP to us.
Yes.
Versus admin versus it coming from the general fund. It could come from either source.
Yes.
So there's the potential though that it could come from the grant monies because it could be a grant to the commission.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's determined by supervisors down the road. So they
Yeah.
have an option.
Yeah, so down, when the budget comes through, they do have that option to decide at that point,
Okay.
like, hey, we need this funding because we can't apply for this. And they have been told, like, the expectation is that the county, you created this
Yeah.
commission. So
Right.
the
Yeah,
expectation
let's get
is we
to
take on
fund
We need
this
some
role.
change, right,
Um,
right.
and they understood like this year, it's like, hey, we're very new. We need to establish that reputation, start finding the funding sources, first of all, things like that. However, we're doing this, we're planning for the transition now. So they're aware it's coming,
Okay,
and that this is our plan and that they do need to match the
Okay.
grant funding for it.
okay, okay.
And there are expectations that we have to do certain programs that California Arts Council
Yes,
sends,
yes.
us, like the poetry.
Yeah.
I'm wondering do we have a sense of what the monetary commitment would be to run those?
So the city told me 5,000.
Only?
Wow,
So we could have 145 available
Yeah.
for
for other things,
our countywide efforts.
yeah.
And we have to write a grant that identifies what we're gonna do with the
Right.
money.
Yes,
So we have to do some dreaming here
yes.
Right.
before 26, because you guys did an application, right? The county participated in an application with the with this, with the city to get their current LAA money, didn't
All we
you?
did was we wrote a resolution designating them as the
Ah,
ability to
okay.
take on the role for the next 2 years.
Because the supervisors are required to, three supervisors are required to endorse the local arts agency.
Yes,
Who it is.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
No, I
that's
get,
it.
I get all that.
That's
I
the
get all that.
administrative side of things,
Mhm.
but it
Mhm.
doesn't mean they don't have any ties to what the money happens. But the CAC says you have to do the poetry program, and the city who's currently doing it is saying it's only costing them about 5,000 to administer, quote, the required programs.
Mhm.
And that's assuming that when we take it on, that if we look at it and we look at it, is it equitable or is the outreach to what we want? That's
Mm.
assuming that we don't want to expand the existing program.
Are we already,
And some of that
In-
might be able to be in-house, so maybe it wouldn't even cost us $5,000. I don't know yet. I'm trying
Sure.
to get all the
Yeah.
details
Yeah,
of
because
what
we'd have to
makes sense.
transition it into here.
what is our timeline with our Board of Supervisors
Mhm.
for coming up with how we want to spend that money? Like coming up with the dreaming. You know, we want to spend, you know what I mean? Like,
Um, I think you don't need a ton of detail
Mhm.
per se.
okay,
Like you don't need to say like, these are the
This, we want
exact
that.
3 projects
Right,
we
okay.
need. But if you have a general broad idea, this is
Okay.
the sort of programming we're
so we
doing.
could pull things out of our current strategic plan
Mhm.
and maybe say, we want to fund this. We want
Exactly.
to fund this.
Anything that has a
Yes.
countywide footprint
Yeah,
that is an outreach to the county to provide
Okay.
services to the full county.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what the city's expectation currently is as well. They have to
That's
serve
supposed
the
to be the
county.
whole county.
yes.
Okay.
And it'll be a little easier for us because if we have the,
Yeah.
we have the CE funding, whatever funding it is,
Right.
we're not limited, right? This is city, even whatever their matching funds is, they might be limited by whatever those matching funds are.
Mhm.
Whereas with us, our funds are already
Okay.
meant to serve
And
the county,
And
right?
so the local, when somebody applies to get that money from the CAC, they have to put in an application and they have to identify what are the projects we're gonna do.
Mhm.
So the CAC knows, oh, this is how they're gonna spend our
Yeah.
75 and their 75.
Yeah, so for the CAC grant,
We have to be
we
more
have to
detailed.
be
Very
detailed.
specific.
For the supervisors, they already understand that the local
Okay.
arts agency designation is something we should take on, and as a requirement of that, we need to find matching funds.
So do you,
So that's that, from their side, that's kind of all they
So they're
really
just
need.
thinking, oh, we have to provide this matching grant to get 75K.
Yeah,
do you envision soon that our, I forget if we're subcommittee or ad hoc committee, but that our group meets with strategic planning to suss out some of that, what we want to identify, putting the money towards?
Well, we haven't
Not
really,
soon necessarily, but say next year.
we would have to identify really, I think an ad hoc for the LAA.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know if it, we can't take it on for 2 years, so why bother, right? But it's good that we
It's just
understand
that
it.
even though we can't take it on for 2 years, the, if you have your talking point, the earlier we have talking points to talk to our supervisors,
Mhm.
the better, I
Mhm.
think. And,
Well, the easiest money we're gonna get from the county is going to be this money,
oh, yeah,
because it's just a grant, and it's quite,
and
it's,
it's already bringing more money
well,
in.
they consider it a matching grant that we have to provide.
Yeah, yeah.
So it falls into that category.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. We might want to say to the strategic
right,
planning
that's-
committee, hey, in your 2026, 27 year, what are the projects that are county-based
Yeah,
that we could
put this money.
put
in.
over
Okay.
into the LAA fund for then?
Yeah,
And are there things you want to implement then or prior? So
okay,
be thinking along those lines. It totally makes sense.
yeah, all right,
So, yeah, we should absolutely say, hey, be thinking about LAA because it's called
Yeah.
Local Arts Agency. And
okay.
so that's to our advantage. So if we're thinking budget-wise, we could almost come up with because our endeavor right here is to come up with a 25-26 and a 26-27 budget that we want to submit to the supervisors for consideration.
Mhm.
And then, Zhang, would we include the LAA in the 26-27? Shouldn't we?
yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so it is a part of our project. So we have to identify the match,
Mhm.
and then we could identify some things to it.
It's not hard for me to think of ways countywide. I mean, any of us, we wouldn't be here if it was hard for us to think of how to spend that money.
Well, we
at a
already did it.
county Level. I
We already
mean,
did
we've
it.
done it, right, we've already
in the
said,
strategic
it's in the
plan.
strategic plan.
All those outreach things that we were doing.
Yeah.
But I still, I agree with you. I think we could put more thought to what, and that's why part of our strategic plan is so necessary, is that survey of what do you need?
Yeah,
You know, what do you really need help with? What would be the best use of the LAA money in
Yeah.
26
Yeah.
for you guys? And it may not be in our strategic plan currently,
yeah.
because we
So
don't know
I'm gonna
what,
look
we
over
haven't
it
done that.
again and keep looking over it till what I look over the strategic plan is what's posted already on the website. So
Mhm.
I don't, if there's other stuff that y'all are doing.
Yeah.
That's fleshing it out more. If
Mhm.
it's not on the website, I don't know what it is, but I look at that and I think, I bet you it would cost this much for this. I bet you it
Yeah.
would cost this much for that. I bet we could, we
But-
could use that money really effectively.
Yeah.
At a county level.
When I came to the county in 05, the LAA money at the city, which has always been there, right?
Yeah,
And they would do, they did a couple convenings and they invited the whole county
Yeah.
to show up and to come to things.
Mhm.
And honestly, those were the only times I got to see my people. Really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The arts people from the county, not just the city. And so those were, I mean, they stick out in my mind because there were so few of them. And
Yeah.
honestly, I would, because of that experience of being so siloed in North County
yeah,
and not having any access to the big, we always looked at this as the big pond,
yeah,
and we're not a part of it.
yeah,
And they get all these cool things and all these big initiatives come down to the city, and there was tremendous inequity. So I would really, I would focus on equity.
yeah.
Start
me
right from the
too.
grant.
It's all-
I would
it's
say,
there.
what is
Yeah, no, I'm
equity
with you.
and what do you need to feel
Right.
equity? And and quite honestly, we got to bring the whole arts community together a few times, because remember, we're starting from like,
Yeah,
and I guess I shouldn't say much more.
yeah, stop, because I'm gonna ask about that, but I'm gonna wait till next week.
I was just hoping those things would happen year after year after year, and they didn't.
Yeah.
All these
I think I
20
know what you're
years.
talking about, but I don't know for sure, and I
That's
wanna.
okay. I don't need to
wanna talk about
criticize
it with
what,
a full crowd.
yeah, I don't need to criticize what was done. I was just,
Right,
those kind of gatherings were really, really beneficial.
yeah,
Because you know what happened? You got to see who was in the room, and you got to suddenly be doing some collaborations and say,
Yeah,
whoa, I
that's
need
it.
to hear from you.
that's it, exactly.
I need a dance partner. I need an
I need this,
electronics
I need
guy.
that,
I-
Right.
And
Mhm.
those were very
The
rich,
networking is really
very rich.
huge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything more about that particular local arts
Okay,
agency?
very good.
Okay,
No,
the
unless you have
sources of
questions.
money, is that the agenda item I wanted to talk about a little bit? Because
Yes, and then
we
there's
kind of
some,
already did.
we kind of
The
did.
part that I wanted to talk about, but I do want to share with you what my experience was.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you meant by
And
sources
then-
of money
Okay,
as
So we
an
do
item.
have to just check for public comment.
Oh, yes. Are there any public comments for sources of money?
No,
Okay.
Is anybody watching?
yes.
Oh, Patricia.
Hi, Patricia. So what, I went ahead and met with the aide to, my supervisor is Joel Anderson, District 2. I met with his aide, Ibrahim, who helps with money stuff. Because I wanted to know what would be the way of getting the supervisors to, well, I wanted to know if it would be possible for District 2, for Joel Anderson, to use some of his community enhancement program funds to meet that $75 matching fund. And Abraham said, no, that's not the way to do it. And I said, okay, tell me more, tell me more. And it seems like we're already on the track for that. He wants to see each supervisor use those use their community enhancement program monies, but $15,000 each to come up with the 75.
Mhm.
And so that's where, that's kind of where we left that part of it. I have a pretty good confidence that Supervisor Anderson, won't need a lot more talking to about this, because he really, really sees the inequity in North County. and in the unincorporated areas of all of San Diego. I mean, he sees it, he gets it, he speaks to it, and he wants to see money put into it. So,
And I have
it's
a-
just the how. That's, I
Right.
wanted, and Ibrahim was very accommodating. He didn't say, well, you should ask Zhang. In fact, I brought it up. I said, I know Zhang is my person that I should be getting mentored by, and I do get mentored by. But you are the person who, my supervisor who employed me, I should be talking to also. And some of what I'm talking about is really, I need to listen to you, I need to know what you think. So, and that went actually really well. And I recommended that we all could be doing that. Just get to know them. Do you know Desmond's
No,
dude? I would get to know. Desmond is another really, really strong, I found this out
Mhm.
from, talking.
yeah,
He has a lot of unincorporated communities in his district also. I mean, he's got, big, a couple of big ones. One is Oceanside. That is incorporated, and
Mhm.
also Escondido.
right.
He's got tons of unincorporated. And,
Does he have Fallbrook?
no, wait a
I thought
minute,
he
hold
did.
on, let me
Yes.
think.
Don's all in Fallbrook, yeah,
Because Jennifer's.
that's unincorporated.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer's from
Yeah, that's right, you're right.
Fallbrook.
It is unincorporated. So he's got a lot, and he knows, he has the same
Does he have all the
sensitivity.
Indian lands?
No, they
Palo, no,
both, they split it.
Okay,
There's,
Okay.
there's a lot of, I don't have it memorized yet. Someday I'll come with my little map that I had made at Vistaprint that will show who has what casino or what tribes.
right.
The very wealthy tribes are, I noticed, are in District 2. Wealthy meaning they've got infrastructure, they're already doing art and culture massively
Hmm.
and bringing in a lot of money by doing it. So when you hear, like you might hear somebody's coming, I don't know, Pink, isn't Pink coming to Sequan? It'll be a little print down at the bottom, but we're talking megabucks coming in, and they're bringing in, who was Wanda Sykes? You
Yeah.
hear Wanda Sykes is coming to San Diego, Wanda Sykes is coming to San Diego, and then at the little bottom, it says what casino she's coming to. And so they're pulling in a lot of art and culture money from throughout the Southern California area, which is great. And, we should ask them how they're doing it. So that was my whole thing about sources of money was, it's a good idea to meet. To me, it took a month for me to be able to jive our calendars. And that was okay, it took a month, and then we talked. Do you talk to him? Are you like hallway roomies?
No,
Are you in
but
the
if,
same building?
but if we are in the same building, so he's
Okay.
on the third floor, and well, when they're in
He
the
is,
third
when he's
floor.
up there, he's
Yeah.
on the third floor. Yeah.
But when there are big significant events, such as when you guys release the strategic plan, I do reach out to every board office.
Okay,
And then my boss, the director of our department, has weekly meetings with the chiefs of staffs of each board. So they get updated on any arts and culture events that way too.
is he chief of staff?
No.
I don't think he
No.
is. I met the chief of staff though.
No.
Just, that was a
Yeah.
hallway thing. People, if you show up, it's amazing what happens.
Okay, so,
So that's it. That was-
so that's one source, but what are you,
What
what
were
are
you
your
thinking
thoughts?
about?
So we are looking at some of the grants, right? But most of the grants we've seen require matching. So that is an
Mhm.
ongoing discussion we have in our office. Like, hey, if we went for these grants, are you okay? Because we gotta find the matching funds for it. That is one thing. The other is just a broad request from our office just to have a budget beyond
Yeah,
like
Okay.
staff and supplies.
okay.
Oh, so that would actually be through the budget, through
Yeah.
your budget, which is government.
Yeah. But it's for things so that even if you had like some of the smaller convenings and events, like we would be able to provide
So
the
more,
money for it
more
instead of-
admin, you think?
more,
or
that
programs?
for programs
Oh,
for
good.
now, but for things so that, like, let's say San Diego Art
So
Matters wouldn't have to
so the-
sponsor,
Yeah.
we would.
So
Yeah.
that would be the department
Okay.
budget. We can
Yeah.
understand that as the department budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
so those requests have been ongoing since we were, well, the first year not so much because we were just getting our legs under us,
Well,
but
you-
after that
you-
first year, this last year in the budget and ongoing, will be a continual request for things like that.
But in the current budget we're in, because we're in the new budget cycle,
Mhm.
you did request some funds for arts and it didn't get approved.
Yeah.
Okay, and how much was that?
I don't remember.
It was a smaller amount because it was like for meeting supplies and
Yeah.
like refreshments, and we did have
Mhm.
gatherings, and so it
Mhm.
wasn't a lot.
Mhm.
But it was because in April, we had no money. And
We had nothing.
it all had to be- it all had to be
Yeah.
donated, so you guys were trying to pick up the slack on that.
Yeah, so we're just trying to pick up the
Okay.
slacks of like
So,
$1,500, $2,000 just to do those kinds of
Yeah.
events.
but it didn't make it through the COO level? Is that where it got diced?
I think so. I'm not 100%
Okay.
sure.
So that's the head of the county
Yeah.
administrative person. Got it, yeah. So what would your thoughts be on what would be useful for us to advocate to staff?
Yeah,
First,
good question.
on the staff side, not too much, but more on the supervisor side.
So in other words, instead of us going up to that CO, if we went to the supervisors and they said, we want you to fund this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
arts.
Exactly.
Okay, that's important to know, because I mean, we don't want to bombard the CO with it, like, please help us emails.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
also that, I don't know all the different supervisors. I used to be in Terrace
Mhm.
district, and she was supportive of the arts. Joel wants to be, I think Jim wants to be, it seems like Monica wants to be, and.
Supervisor Vargas and.
And
is
Bart
also
and
very-
Nora wants to be,
Yes.
so I think it's, for me, I feel like it's better to just go to them and CC maybe their chief of staff or something like that, so that they know that's what we're doing, and then if I, this is stuff I've done before, but it's been a long time,
Yeah.
it's been
And if you
like
do it-
10 years.
And if you do it early enough, because.
Yeah, that's the key.
Well,
Because
what's
You
early?
start getting it on their
So the
docket.
budget cycle is January to June. Are you thinking March or before?
I'm thinking like December.
Yeah, I was
January.
thinking
Oh.
that too.
I'm
Oh,
thinking
so
Yeah.
ASAP
December.
to get, if you want to meet
Yeah.
with somebody,
So in other
Start
words, why don't we
asking
say
now.
fall? So we should be advocating.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Wow.
if you want to meet somebody with somebody, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
it took, for me to get the meeting with Ibrahim, took a month. When Ada wanted a meeting with him pre-budget, it took a month.
Okay,
And so
I have
their
a question
their
about
budget's
I guess,
filled.
something else.
I mean, their time fills, sorry.
Are there restrictions or limitations to us as a commission to do fundraising events or to proactively seek donations, private donations elsewhere that we could use as matching funds?
I have to check. I tentatively want to say yes. And what would happen is like there would have to be a separate like
Yeah.
nonprofit side of things. So for example, our library has Friends of the Library.
Right.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
The county is allowed to accept donations from the point of view of like, let's say, artwork or things like that. I do have to keep track of it, and then depending on the dollar amount, it eventually goes to the board to ratify and say like, hey,
So-
we received donations in this amount this last year.
Mhm.
Just for the transparency's sake. So donations in like artwork, materials, that kind of stuff is fine. Dollar donations, no.
It would
Wait.
have to go through a nonprofit like Friends of the Library.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, so if somebody wanted to give the Arts Commission $100,000, wouldn't that have to get on the approved, it would have to be approved by the supervisors to accept it?
I'm not even sure we can.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that is something I'll have to ask our
Oh,
lawyer.
all right.
And the same with like if we were wanting to do like a
Well, how do you
annual
accept?
fundraiser.
Oh, so it's a grant is a different matter. So a
Mhm.
donation versus a grant?
Yes, so grant is different
Mhm.
because there's guidelines
Okay.
and things like that. It's
All right.
usually from state or federal, and we have to follow those
So if it's grant
guidelines.
from a nonprofit, that's an easier route.
Yes.
Mhm.
Speaking of grants, still about sources of money. Do we have a grant writer supporting the Art and Culture Commission? Is there a person we can name and say, okay, that's our person?
No.
No. Okay, do you see that coming ever?
We have somebody in my unit currently
Yeah.
that did it. The old person had writing experience that could have existed. This current one does not have as much, but he's
Okay.
trying to gain it.
Yeah,
So but his job is to look for grants for just broadly in anything. So he knows that we're looking
Okay.
for arts grants and things like that. So if there's anything that pops up that's out of the, well, I shouldn't say out of the
Well, like,
ordinary,
let's
not like
say-
NEA, you know. He
no, I
knows
was gonna
what
say, what about
NEA
an NEA grant?
Yeah, so he knows NEA, those
Okay.
kinds of things, but also just looking at, he's keeping ears out for just any other kind of grants that may be a
And
nonprofit.
is his position a funded FTE of the
Yes.
county?
Yes.
Okay,
But he
so
would,
this is
he isn't just specific for arts and culture.
No, no.
he's just
no,
broad.
I
But
get
as
that.
part, in other words, he
It's a
seeks department.
solider, right,
grants.
it's a
Yeah.
solider
Yeah.
position
Yes.
than he's an intern who's
No, no,
learning and.
he's an FTE. so.
Okay,
Okay, so there's a grant writer. So if we were to identify that we wanted to go after the Challenge America grant with the National Endowment, which is $10,000 grant, but it requires a 10,000 match.
Yeah.
You know, those kinds of things could
Yeah.
happen. But we have to get that on his radar soon.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
need to be, because he's got to create his structure of when he does what. Mhm.
and then as a grant writer, I'm trying to figure out where do we stop and the grant writer person would begin. Who manages the grant? If I manage the grant, I mean, does the Ps and Qs, you know
It
what I'm
would be
talking
our
about.
office. It would be our
Okay.
office.
Okay.
So you guys would administer any grant we got.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
just a built-in.
administers the grant, that's it.
And do all the fun.
Yeah. Refine
Here's the
reporting and all
receipts,
that.
here's the,
business.
yeah.
Yeah, all that. Because you guys are Grant Central
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
county.
Okay, good.
All right, so other sources of funding we've talked about, we've currently got the Previs working, so that's corporate, or that's
And
a
we're gonna
nonprofit.
learn more about that next week, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
But we've got nonprofit grants, government grants, and then county funding. Okay.
and private individuals, it has to go through a nonprofit. I just want to keep, and it has to come from a nonprofit and go to the county or go to a nonprofit within the county that supports the county.
Uh,
No,
sorry,
it-
I'm not
it-
sure if I
The
understand.
monies just have to go they have to be given from a nonprofit to the county. That's an acceptable
Oh,
way
it's
to do it.
nonprofit to nonprofit, got it. The way,
Yeah, no,
I think
No,
so.
that-
So I
that's
just have
how
to
it is.
confirm with
But
Fernando. Yeah.
we usually, supervisors have to like approve either the grant
Yeah.
or the receipt of it.
yeah. Okay,
Do they have to approve all the grants you write?
No, there are limits to.
Oh, it's based on
how-
dollars.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So if it's a $10,000
All right,
grant,
that's
no,
fine.
usually no, we have the authority to just
got it.
go
Okay.
for
go
it.
for it. Okay.
But if it's like much bigger and requires more matching.
Well, like the Previs money, that's a higher amount. That would probably have to go to them.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
I'm getting it. So here's what I want to make sure that I understand correctly. Even though it's September, we really should be meeting by January with our either supervisors or their people to discuss ways to get that.
You want to wait till January?
No.
I think it should be
I
sooner.
do
Should be-
not. I do not want to wait till
No,
January,
Then why are we
actually.
saying then?
Because that would be the outer limit time. I want to start,
Yeah,
like I already started. Now he's gonna be he's gonna get a report
Alright.
from me every,
So why don't we say no later than December? Because we have to figure this out still. We need a couple
Yeah.
months.
okay.
And it
No,
benefits us,
okay,
it benefits us that there is a draft budget already in place because
yeah,
the budget you all
Right,
saw was
right,
actually a part of this, was sent to the supervisors.
right.
So not that they're
No
too
later
clued
than
into it.
Yeah, no later. And the speaking points can be
Broad.
that.
We
They
just
can
write
be
them out.
broad, but the key to me, what worked before when I was doing this for a small nonprofit that had about $100,000 annual budget was getting that relationship started and talking. I might be telling them the same thing at every meeting. And then the third time around, it sticks.
Well, regarding the budget draft that we have, it was discussed with Tara Lawson's
Yeah.
office and Jim Desmond's office. So
Good.
two of them know about it.
Two of them know about it, so I need to discuss it then with,
Once we've got a
with
new version of
Anderson's
it
office,
ready to
yeah.
go, then we get
Yeah,
out with it.
okay. And you have, who do you have? Do you have Monica or do you have?
No, I have.
Nora, right?
Margaretson.
Good.
Sure.
So could
Perfect.
you get,
Yeah.
We
so
got three.
so
Yeah.
what I'm trying to stress is even if you don't know what your talking points are gonna be, it's gonna take you a month, probably,
To get on their
to
calendar.
get on their calendar, and that gives you that month to decide what your talking points are gonna be, or if you're, so.
Is only District 3 up for election in November?
No, it's
No,
1, 2, and 3.
Two is also.
1, 2, and 3?
Mhm.
Yes,
Oh,
1, 2,
so,
and
so
3.
there could be change in membership, commission membership.
Technically, yes.
It's possible.
Technically.
The odds are.
I'm
Um,
5, you're
I'm
Yeah.
two,
Two.
and
Oh.
I don't see
you're
there being
one.
a change. I
1,
mean,
2, okay.
did you get letters? Wait, you're one. So I got a letter asking if I wanted to be reappointed
Oh,
from,
yeah.
and a really nice thing,
Oh,
So
because
thanking me.
it's the end of the
because it's
cycle.
the end of the cycle, so
Got
it's
it.
the end of my first term. And when I look at what's happening for him, I think he's going to get reelected, but even if he isn't, I am going to reapply. If he gets reelected or doesn't get reelected, I'm doing what the letter told me to do. Did you get such a letter?
Did
No.
not get such a letter.
Okay.
Each office just does things.
Yeah, they
that-
do
You
their
know
own
what they
thing.
do, and their timelines, I'm finding out are different, and, so no big deal. Okay, is there anything else about sources of money we've kind of hit on? We probably can't do just private, but we could do nonprofit. We can do grants. And did we have anything else? Just those. So no private donations,
And I sent,
unless they're funneled through a nonprofit. You can do designated donations to nonprofits.
and I sent an email to our lawyer to just confirm.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so yes, and yes. And fundraisers, like what you were talking about,
Yeah, no, I was just wondering that.
like, is that even something we could do?
I'll ask.
Okay. Like we throw an event that raises money?
Right.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
let's
I'm
find
wondering-
out if we could do it,
Yeah.
Do we have the capacity for earned revenue?
Ooh.
We don't.
I don't think so.
No. So we can't earn
We
revenue.
can do, okay. So then would that rule out those kind of fundraisers? Is that what you're
Pretty
thinking?
much.
It would be in that camp.
Probably no.
Yeah. And you know, I hate to say it, but government, it's best that government not go there. It's just
Okay,
so
you know what?
cumbersome.
You're right.
It's so
Mm,
cumbersome.
You're right.
But if you had a Friends of the Arts organization, that's where their role is.
And I
Yeah.
technically want
Yeah.
to say that's how Coronado is set up, but I can't remember
Okay.
That
100%.
would be worth looking into.
Yeah.
No Coronados, it's
Cities
set
are a little more flexible.
through.
Yeah,
a
and there are
nonprofit.
other local arts agencies that are nonprofits, so they
Yeah,
they
Mhm.
have more
Sure.
flexible funding
okay.
or flexible ways of it.
Does San Diego, as a county, do you know if we, as a county, receive very much federal money for the arts? You're saying
No,
No.
generally no. The library does get some grants for
Mhm.
some of their programming and such that will be arts and
Mm-hmm.
culture. In fact, most of their programming probably comes from grants.
Really?
From the federal government.
I don't know about
No.
federal.
See,
I'm
I'm
not
thinking-
100% sure about
No.
federal. I
The
have to
reason
check
I'm
and
thinking
ask
this
that.
is because I'm thinking there is federal money out there that I think is going undistributed
Mm.
simply because people aren't asking for it.
Well, libraries have access to humanities money and
Right,
library money, and so they have different pots of money.
right.
But for us, it's very much the major arts funders nationwide, like Kellogg and Target and all those kinds of
That's,
things.
I'm thinking federal government too, like.
Well,
NA
that's
money.
NEA then. That's
NEA.
NEA.
That's a good idea, Kellogg.
Well, there are all those, there's
Ah.
Irvine Foundation, there's loads of big funders
Right.
in California. All you need to do is just start looking at
Right.
the donor lists of other counties,
Yeah.
see
Mhm.
who's doing stuff.
Could you pass that on to our grant person?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Well, a good one to look at is San Francisco, because they're
Yeah.
the big cheese.
Mhm.
So if you're seeing who they're receiving funding from, that's who we could
San
tap, if
Francisco and
it's
LA.
not North County Central,
Yeah.
Yeah.
centric, I should say. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Anything else for this agenda item? So next up is draft budget items. Is there any public comment?
No,
Could we show it on the screen perhaps?
the agenda.
No, just the budget, the draft budget.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm gonna move so I could.
Okay, I have to look.
Let me
Yeah.
move.
let me
It's
look.
in your email.
And I was having trouble opening it,
Second.
because I don't have permission.
Oh, really?
I couldn't get into the details of it. So I must not have permission either.
I could, well, you know what? You're right. It wasn't opening and I sent it to you guys, but you probably have different, you have it as well, saying.
You sent it to us and I couldn't get
It
into
wouldn't
the
open, it
granular
wouldn't even
level.
open?
Jim, are you talking about, was it this one or the?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I got copies.
Here, yeah.
You're an angel. You wanna look on this one?
Thanks.
Oh, Monica, you're the bomb.
How'd you do it?
Just
Oh.
printed.
No, I mean, how'd you get it open? I couldn't get it to open for me.
I got it from when,
Oh, when I
someone-
sent it?
yeah,
Oh,
Okay.
but I wasn't sure if it
Oh.
was the
And
same one that was
there-
on the link.
Oh, yeah. I see it. Mhm. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
And you'll see that our pillars on the far left column,
mhm,
these are all organized under our pillars.
mhm.
And then the second column is the description. And so 24-25 would now become 25-26, if we want to do some tweaks to this. 26 and then 26.
So shift
27.
everything to the right. When we start with the money column, 24-25,
Yeah,
we shift everything to the right
yeah,
so
just
that,
change the title on
okay,
the top, 25-26, 26-27.
yeah.
This was very broadly based. I mean, I was part of this effort. Yeah, I couldn't get that to open either in my email.
Even though you send it to yourself,
No, it was the one from Zhang.
yeah,
Yeah, but
okay.
I don't know. Anyway, but guys, this was just really fast and quick.
Mhm.
So these figures probably, we need to, number one, look at the column 2. And then the money columns, and we have to do some homework to identify this. And then Zhang, for budgeting purposes, if we were gonna submit, could we see an example of like a department budget request? Or maybe, because I know when I did budgeting, I had to provide, detail of, like, within the $6,000,
What you're
what's the
doing
next
with
column?
Mhm.
What is 422?
Mhm.
Is that how you guys structure your budget requests? Down to that level?
Our budget requests are done kind of more on broad,
Like this?
Buckets, huh?
Bucket?
yeah, broad, but like not down to the program, well, depends on the department. So it would be more of like, let's say, staff, supplies.
That's
Uh-huh,
exactly
got
why I
it.
had started a template here, like personnel, consulting
Uh-huh.
fees, materials.
Exactly.
like those kind
And
of
then
things,
within
right?
some of them, sometimes we'll have subcategories. So
Right,
like
yeah.
with, it's something in supplies, I mean, it's sellers and supplies. And then we'll have another one for like office things. And under that, we would have things like travel, miscellaneous,
Okay,
that
so
kind
your
of stuff.
buckets are just organized different.
Yeah, so it would be very broad and generic.
But at some point, you have to know the fine details, because you're gonna say, oh, you've overextended, you weren't supposed to spend $30,000 in this item, we only budgeted 1,000 for it. I mean, at some point, you would know that detail.
Yeah, so then, because every time we do an expenditure, we mark like where would that be? And then our finance person would just track like, oh, this is what we spent so far. So before we can even spend, we'd have to check in with them, and be like, hey, do we have the money for this? And sometimes it could be we can move it from one bucket to another.
Because
depending on
it's
where-
commensurate fund, it's similar funding in some
Yes.
other pot.
Yeah, within that,
So it
within
fits
that.
within like, yeah,
yeah,
right. That's the only time you can move money, so it has to be in the same kind of, like personnel can only go to personnel.
yeah,
And-
like
and
move
consulting
money
can only be
within a department.
Within a
Without-
particular area.
Without going to the board. Yeah.
Okay, but for the sake of us being a first-time budget requester, would you advise that we provide a fair amount of detail?
I think something like what you have here makes sense.
But nothing beyond this?
With maybe notes for yourself, because if it's too
Right.
more than like a page or too
They
many
don't want it.
words, it gets too much.
Oh,
So
so this actually might have flown just for you guys, but then we would have a column of notes. We could add like a hidden column Z that said, this is how this is
talking
broken down.
points, if
What
people
we do
ask
with it.
questions,
This
or
is-
if you have
This
questions.
is how we track our money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
The-
how,
the
if you
way-
have questions, what kind of questions could come up and how you would want to
Oh,
answer it.
exactly. Like a supervisor said, well, what are you doing with that money? Well, here's the detail.
Yeah, or even the description could be even more condensed. It's like consultant to
Yeah,
a cultural assessment.
right, exactly.
For cultural assessment or
Yeah.
something like that. And then the details could be in your talking points when you're talking something,
Sure,
for
sure.
example.
So the way I was looking at it, when I was kind of like just making sense of it in my head, is just taking these numbers, thinking about how this fits into categories that are more used like for budgets, right? And then using this as a budget narrative to describe what's in those categories.
Right, because this structure may not work for your budget. You would just want it to be like this, and we've got a bi-pillar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is designed for us, but it's not ideal for you.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's good to know, Monica. You're on top of that. So the big sticking point, gang, look at operational impact, 2 FTE positions to establish the Office of Arts and Culture. So that was a very grand idea as well, like to actually establish an office, in name, right? And then you'll see there's no money there. Okay, there's no money under 6 because we were just like, we have no clue. We don't even know what the position title would be, and so we were leaving it up to just like someone help us in finance to identify what those amounts would have been. But I had a question about that. So if we were to succeed in getting an FTE for the arts and culture, right? Just call it arts and culture. And within your structure, do you have management analysts throughout the county?
Yes, so we have many analysts.
Right,
What
exactly.
you're probably thinking of is likely what we call administrative analysts.
Administrative analysts.
Yes, they are used very differently across different departments,
Okay.
depending on what they are. And then they have tiers, so we have 1,
Oh.
2, and 3.
Got it.
Within that tier, and
Got
then
it.
like a principal analyst. So that would be one option.
Okay, and that's what I want to ask you. In your opinion, what would be the best position we should, within your structure? Does administrative analyst make the best sense for what we are calling an arts administrator?
Yeah,
Okay,
and then people always have working titles versus what are
exactly.
HR titles.
Yeah,
So I
your
would-
HR title is this, but we're calling him that.
Yeah, so like something like an admin, I would probably recommend a tier 2.
It would have to be,
Wait,
entry level
can we
would be,
slow down just a second? Why?
Because I'd have to look at the job description again. One
For
is
tier 2?
very like
Entry level.
basic entry level, but with
Okay.
somebody like this, just assuming
no, you're
on
exactly
my
right.
needs, on
It
my
would-
needs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If somebody was reporting to me and helping with this, I would need somebody with that next level of ability to work independently,
So
do
what
some
level-
planning, that kind of stuff. So
Because,
that's 2 and up, 3.
no,
You
I'm
know,
trying to-
three can manage people, a
That's
two
what I want to
cannot.
know.
Yeah.
I want it, that's exactly what I was going for.
Right.
At what level are you managing people? So that would be a tier 3.
Is that how you are three?
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
And then a tier 2 would be managed, but not manager, not
Yes.
manager. And a tier 1 needs a lot more mentoring.
Yeah, so
This is-
Okay.
think of one as very basic entry level
Okay.
position, and then 2 is the next level where they've got some skills and they're building.
And they
them.
might be organizing a program.
Exactly.
Or
They
the
might
do
work-
each of
coordinator.
Okay, and do each of those tiers have salaries assigned to them already across the board?
Yes,
If you're tier 2, depending on how long you've been there, because I'm thinking federal government and how they do it.
yeah, so everything's on
It's-
our county website, so if you wanna
Okay,
look
there
for
we
an
go.
admin and
So that's how we
analyst,
could
you
figure
can
out
see
how
what
much money
their
we
job
should
role.
contribute
So go to
their
HR.
range.
So we should go to the HR portal
Yeah,
Yeah.
to identify what is
How much
administrative.
FTE,
And then
and
look
you're
up
thinking
admin.
it should be tier 2. If you're recommending tier 2 for this position, or for each of these positions, who would that person report to? You?
Me,
Okay,
Right, but I'm concerned that this workload may not be a 2, it might be a 3.
it might be.
I know,
Because
that's what I'm
I
thinking.
don't know, to this level of like interacting with the community and running programs and perhaps even overseeing negotiations for grants.
And managing other people. You might need to, yeah.
Yeah, but they would be, so within your structure, you are the liaison to the commission and that continues.
Yes,
An arts administrator is a different role.
Yeah.
So the arts administrator would not take over the commission. Zhang would still be here because she's the designated liaison with the
Right.
department.
but they would likely still attend the meeting.
Oh, no, they would be here because they're more or less carrying out
Yeah,
workload.
yeah.
Yeah, so they would be ex officio to the commission?
Yeah, or like think of them as like
Like
the extra
staff?
staff I'd always bring on,
Uh-huh.
like
Got
all the various
So I'm
staff
still
members
thinking
through
tier
budget
2.
meetings.
Well, it just
Especially at
depends.
the beginning.
It might-
Later, we could
It
say
just
maybe
depends
tier
what
3,
this
yeah.
workload is and whether it fits to, HR would tell us, is it a 2 or a
In
3?
heart, yeah, they would.
Well, there's, I'm looking at their actual job descriptions.
For tier 2
There's-
and tier 3?
Yes. And yeah, it seems like a lot of what we're thinking about lands on 3.
Higher level management with budget preparation, fiscal management, personnel functions, contract administration and monitoring special projects and studies, and to perform related work as required. Administrative analyst 3 hours.
And then
Yeah.
You wanna use
No,
number
I
2. so
That's more
it's-
like tier 3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's 3. Supervise a group of administrative analysts assisting higher level management with budget preparation. So in other words, they assist, they don't do it.
Yeah,
3 is in charge of budgets, 2 is assisting someone do the budget.
Right.
So we're kind of in between 2 and 3, probably.
And maybe it's a
The-
request of one of each.
The
This one
pay,
was
the
number
pay
2.
One
range,
of each, yeah.
the pay range of the 3 is 93 to 113.
At the pay range of a 2?
pay range of a 2 is 83 to 101.
Yeah, here's the challenge. We're gonna ideally be better suited if we have someone with a fair amount of experience,
Mhm,
arts administration wise. We don't need to train them. We need them to just come in and have skills.
mhm.
So if you were gonna find someone at that level, you probably would have to find a 3.
Yeah, and from a budget perspective, I mean, the money is not that much of a difference.
It's not crazy.
Much better.
I didn't
for the
realize.
district.
So 113 is the top for a 3.
But how long, does 113 come if you are time in service? That's what feds, you have to put in
Yes,
so much time,
most
you start at
likely,
whatever's the
so
low
most
end.
likely
and
the
then-
likely guess is somewhere middle of
Okay.
that salary band.
Right.
And then you should also, I forget, I'd have to look it up.
How much experience they already had.
But you also have to account when you do these estimates, the benefits side of things. So I
Mm,
multiply it by like 1.7. So whatever.
Oh, so the
estimate-
benefit package is
Oh, is that the whole
1.7%.
benefit package, or is that?
Yeah,
the
so let's say if you're gonna offer 90,000 in the budget, it should be like
1.7 times
Yeah.
90,000, got it.
Yes. If that
We,
makes
we,
Good
we
point.
just rounded
You
it
know
to
that
about
you put it-
30,000 extra
Yeah.
per
No,
position.
that's, okay.
We have an actual number. I have
Yeah.
to look it up because it changes obviously
At
every year.
1.5 plus 1.5.
Okay,
Just as a,
And, okay,
budgetary
so that benefit,
accounting thing.
yeah, okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
So the rationale for the position, my thought was, when they formed this budget, they were advised to ask for where you want to be and not where you want to start, right? And so that's why this is 2 FTEs and a lot of other things. So we have to do an analysis of this budget. And then, but my gut response would be, if we're fortunate to get the Previs thing going, that is very helpful to us to say, we've got this program already, and we need an FTE to help us run it, manage it. We can't necessarily do a lot of the involvement as the commission because of conflicts of interest. All the more reason why we have to, it validates why we need it.
an FTE, yeah.
But my attitude is to ask for 1 FTE. Start with 1. What are your thoughts?
I agree.
Mine too. I'd
Mhm.
rather have 1
Yeah.
tier
So why don't we
3
take the 2 FTE and put a 1 down there under
Okay.
6? And then we'll flush that stuff out. I'm so glad to get, so let's just go. So do you guys have steps? Are raises in steps 1 through 5?
Yes, for,
Okay, so-
and for
Yeah, that's what I was
analysts,
trying to
yes.
get at.
Okay, and so we would have, we're requesting to come in. Do you guys always come in at 3? We used to come in at 1, and then at the end, we were coming in at
That
5.
I don't know the answer to that.
That's an HR question.
We definitely don't start at a 5. I can tell you that.
3
You were
was-
thinking
was,
mid-range is what you had said.
yeah.
to
So
me, and that-
93 to 113. So why don't, if you were to say 100K to start with, you'd be
Yeah.
in the 3 range.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, start at 100, around 100K.
wait, did you say 1 point, multiplied times 1.7?
Was it 7 or, did I hear you wrong?
It's somewhere between 1.5 and 1.7. I don't
Oh,
remember.
let's just go with 7.
That's practically twice. That's
Yes.
1.5 times.
Yes.
Okay,
Because you
Alright.
had to, we're paying for pension, because
no,
part of
that's
the
all.
benefits is pension and everything
I'm
else.
okay
Yeah,
with
no, I was
that.
thinking.
mean,
as of
I
like
wasn't figuring that out.
yeah.
Are you serious? 1 point, it's up.
Well,
fringe
when I
I think it
worked
is
in-
around, I
when
think it's
worked for-
1.5, 1.6 the last time I looked, but
Yeah.
this was like
No, that makes
3
sense.
years ago.
When I
3 or
worked
4
for
years ago.
Scripps, they were very transparent. This is your salary, this is how much money you're making, but this is your benefits package. And our
So it could be
benefits
almost be an
package was
additional
about,
100K?
I think ours was about 1.6, 1.4 to 1.6.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's somewhere between 1.5 and 1.7, and it varies from year to year, so.
And ours varied a little bit. You had, I mean,
Gosh.
basically there was social security was a given. There was.
You guys don't get social security, right?
No.
You get a pension, but then there was a pension like matching funds type thing that you could do up to a certain amount, but it depended what you did. Also, there was health insurance.
And it depends on the job
Right.
title too, so that's
Right.
why it's somewhere in that range. I'd have, like,
Mhm.
every budget, they would let us
So
know.
we would potentially be asking for year 1 for about around 200K in personnel.
Just about, yeah.
And then beyond that, the next year
Yeah.
would be a bump
That's
up,
what it's
probably
looking
from
like.
3 to 4, level 3 to 4.
Mhm.
Do you get, when you start, do you get evaluated every 6 months or a year?
Probation is a year,
Uh-huh.
but there is a 6-month check-in.
Okay, but does that elicit a pay increase?
Usually not at the
Oh,
6-month
Okay,
mark. so
and a
like-
year probation. So in other words, if this position isn't working out at any time of the year, they're gone.
Yeah,
All right, okay.
hey, it's government money. That's not, I think with the feds, it's 2 years.
Cheapers.
Well, it depends your position.
It used to be 6 months, but we found the need to have more time to be able to assess and
Mhm.
allowed them to have time to train as
Also,
well.
a year cycle, well,
It goes fast.
I just feel like the budget, the budget is 1 year.
Yes.
You figure out at the end of the budget year, is this working or not? And if you know before then yeah.
Okay, when we had our
Okay.
wonderful last meeting, and was it Greg who was the finance guy?
Brian,
Right. He dropped a little interesting tidbit when he
Mhm.
said that there were unfilled positions.
Mhm.
Now, what's the potential for an unfilled position that might be rerouted from where it wasn't being activated to this? Would that make it easier for us to get a position if it was just moved at the start of year 2?
I'm trying to think all through all the scenarios. It would be easier if there was one within our department there,
Yeah, that's
which
what I
there
was-
isn't.
There is
Um,
not.
Yeah,
There
there's
is
not.
Oh, so in other words, they couldn't pay for human services. We're not gonna use this 3. Do you need a 3?
Yeah,
Mhm.
No.
that rarely happens. It's usually within the department.
department.
So like if we wanted, we call it like reclassing. right?
Yeah,
Reclassing
exactly.
the
Right.
position
Yeah, classification.
to within the same department
Alright.
is easier. And unfortunately, the department's so small, so that's
Okay.
just like
So
the-
the likelihood
like,
of that is not,
of
is
vacancies
not,
is,
not. I wanted to ask the question because he said there were several unfilled positions.
And I do know though, and we are getting all new leadership. So, but the previous leadership's the idea was if you're not gonna fill those vacancies and it's too long, we're taking away those
Oh,
positions.
I
So,
think so.
so what happens with only, like, so if they close down a position, and that position had been budgeted for, what happens to that money?
If it's part of the cycle, then it goes back to, the idea is just, it's part of the
General
general
fund.
fund
It
now
just
to
goes
figure
back.
out,
Got it.
figure
Okay.
out like, okay, where should it go now?
Got it.
Yeah, but in the middle of the year, let's say half the year, the position's unfilled and there's extra money in that department has flexibility on how to use that money.
Okay.
So, I'm tripping over my tongue here, but this reminds me of something else that he brought up, which was that there's like internal billing from one department
Yes,
to another
yes.
Mhm.
that is accounted for. We might get to that point someday.
Well, if some of this needs to go, yeah, you're right. We need to analyze our budget and say, is any of this going to be done by a different department?
Yeah, so there,
Or are we going to be doing anything for a different department? Because we
Yes.
could get to a point where we could provide service to a different
yeah,
department.
so an
What
example
if we
would,
took on public art?
that's what I was gonna say. So an
Yeah.
example right now, public art maintenance is done, paid
Mhm.
for by the department.
Right,
Yeah,
but if
But
we,
that
if
would
we
be an example of
administered a
something.
process to find contractors and then
right.
organize them.
So there are some things that are done centrally in
Okay.
my office right
So-
now, with still the understanding that the
We're
department
thinking
doesn't.
alike.
Okay, but here's the deal, we can build the need for an FTE.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Because if we were to say, we're gonna offer the county, we're gonna centralize all the arts services that are currently being administered by departments.
Mhm.
We'll run public art, we'll run maintenance of public art, we'll run the collection. We should
Mhm.
seriously, we should really consider that because the likelihood of them saying, oh yeah, that's a streamlining of services, and the other departments might say, we like that idea.
Mhm.
Mhm. What do you think?
Be streamlining, they want to, our office just doesn't have the capacity. So
I'm
there
sorry,
are,
say again?
Oh, they'd like to dump it on you already.
so there are
Oh.
so there are some things we are streamlining,
And that's
right?
already another argument, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we need to build the capacity.
Yeah, but so there are some things we're streamlining, so.
Because
for
why are you
example-
taking film?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously, film should come to
No,
arts and culture
100%,
Yeah.
yeah.
and tourism.
100%.
Yeah.
Perhaps
And you're
cultural
taking,
tourism.
you're taking those things because we have an unfunded arts and culture
All
commission
right, people, we're tapping in here.
without an FTE.
the
That's why
position-
you're getting them,
Mhm.
So it does public art,
yeah.
it does PA maintenance.
Are you gonna be able to put all this stuff into the minutes, what he's saying?
We're gonna do
Yeah, I
film.
think so.
Thank you.
So right now it's called film what? You guys, film office, or what do you call it? Your
It's just called film.
film,
Yeah.
okay.
And if it does maintenance, we might
Artist
Then-
calls,
have to get billed by general services.
You would be you'd be managing contracts, so it'd be contractors,
Oh,
consultants and contractors, most
Contracts.
likely, instead of,
Okay,
yeah. Because general services doesn't
Grant
have the
administration.
knowledge and skills,
yeah,
which is why they don't want the responsibility, because
Yeah.
they're not trained to maintain pieces of art.
so we need to identify how the county is currently, anything that expenditure wise that is arts and culture related. What if we were to, I don't want to create too much work because then suddenly our strategic plan gets buried by a lot. But
yeah,
if we want to substantiate why we need staff, this is how you do
FTE,
it. And it's also, we might realize after we go through the public art process of evaluating
yeah.
that it would a centralized public art effort would improve countywide public art. Because we've got all these
It would
departments and
countywide,
tangents.
for sure.
We've
It
got
would-
each department does their own way
It
of
would-
doing it.
And it would be, I can make an argument for it being more equitable
Yeah.
throughout the
Mhm.
county to do it that way.
So the only artist
That's
calls are
true.
for public art. You guys aren't soliciting any other art, right? It's not like you're commissioning works of,
Some of the departments are starting to look at it for like in a
but it's,
smaller
isn't it?
office.
Oh, so the
Ooh.
wall art, we could call it
Yeah.
wall art.
Yeah, and I've been
Okay.
pushing them towards
So,
doing public.
Let's
calls
add,
for-
let's call it artist calls. So
Yeah.
then, so I have right now, the position responsibilities could include the public art program, public art maintenance, which is a whole different thing, film, artist calls, any artist, like if you wanted to have a bench, if you wanted to have artist calls, and then grant administration. What else is on your plate? Saying, anything we're missing that you're currently, asked to help with?
I think that's the biggest ones.
Okay. Well, we might actually find departmental support, because if they like the idea that as this arts and culture is kind of emerging, that it would be advantageous to get, a subject matter expert in the department to handle these things.
Also, if individual departments are thinking about purchasing public art, that should not be, I mean, the money could come out of there, but the decision-making around it should be by the commission.
When we've tried to have commission input by having one participant from the commission on it,
But that's different.
there's a lot
That's
more
different
to it.
than what she's talking about. What you're talking about, if I understood it correctly, is individual departments wanting to purchase public office art or lobby art.
like,
They're not purchasing, they're asking artists to create it.
so that's an artist call.
Artist
Yeah,
call.
artist call,
Mhm,
yeah.
Right,
So they're
And who pays those artists, or do they
out of the
get paid?
departments.
the departments.
The
Yeah,
departments.
so that they're
Yeah.
purchasing if it's coming out of the
Oh,
department.
well, I just want to make sure it's like, they're not purchasing already made pieces.
No.
The intent, the ones I've
that's
been
what we
They're
asked
asked about.
commissioning, okay,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
commissioning
yes.
artists.
The other
But
pool.
wait, can we just,
Sure.
because my mind is always on what is a most equitable process, and the most equitable process is not to have departments handling that themselves. It's to have it go through
Yes.
an Arts and Culture Commission that is very, very committed to an equitable process. And the process that we put up is gonna be, because I'm, chairing the Public Art Ad Hoc Committee or whatever it is, that process, either they all have to follow it, or they hand it to us and we make sure it gets followed.
The reality, the largest art making in the county is public art, and it's gonna
Mhm.
continue to be that. And I would be proudly in support of having 2 FTEs and one that just did public art, because we will find,
It's
because
huge.
having done it,
Right,
it's
it's huge.
so crazy time consuming. And quite honestly, the departments probably have staff already identified. You do all the public art for us, and you do it for Parks, does this person.
Mhm.
And it would actually take workload from them, which means that what if we were to actually transfer some of the funding from the reduction of work from those departments to this position in a different department?
The other thing that
I mean,
also
could that
that
happen?
isn't on this list but needs to
I
be.
think so, but there might not be enough information for numbers.
Right, but I mean, seriously, if
No,
if
I'm
I'm
with
doing
you.
this and I no longer have to do public art, half of my workload could be removed. Or just crazy periods of
Right.
time.
There's also the inventorying of the public art and knowing, like you're right now, you're trying to do that on a spreadsheet,
Yeah,
knowing where it is, knowing its maintenance schedule.
yeah, manage a collection.
All of the, managing the collection, exactly. That needs to be added to the list
Now, let's add
of
that.
what this FTE is gonna
So-
do. Or,
So manage,
Managing
so
the
it's actually to, not chronicle, but what's the term, like a catalog. So like an art collection catalog and management. because there is no catalog yet. I mean, there's no, it's not all
Mhm.
compiled.
No.
Because I mean, when you do a
There
survey
is
of public
campus
art.
specific, like this campus right now has a catalog, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's because of
if
Gail
it's-
Goldman.
It does,
That's right,
they're
because of Gail
hanging
Goldman.
pieces, but that doesn't include inside the walls as well
It does
as,
not?
no, it's just you're thinking of the lobby pieces.
No, it's only
No, I'm
public
thinking
art.
of all of it. I
No.
thought of
No.
all the public art
No.
was,
No, and then as well as the not architecture, what am I saying? The historical, cultural,
yeah,
Historical
ones.
photos and all that stuff. Yeah.
And some of the lobbies have the historical.
right, those little like.
It's still
I know
called,
what you're talking about.
it's county owned, so it's the county art collection.
Yeah.
So you have the wall art collection
Mhm.
and then you have the public art
I thought the
collection.
wall art collection, like the paintings and stuff like that, I thought those were also in the catalog.
It is only the ones that, let's say, Gail managed, and that's public
Yeah,
art
it's different.
and those things, so
She-
that's very different.
Yeah.
Okay,
So in other words, that's an opportunity that needs to be done.
yeah.
And
okay.
also you need to make sure that art is numbered
clarifying.
and managed
Right, and
and
you know where it is and even
And it's tracked,
digitalized, I
it's
mean,
tracked.
like, it's tracked.
because
on
it
the
moves from
computer so
office
you
to
can look
office
for it.
and sometimes a piece can go home.
Hello? Well, that's the thing.
Yep,
It's actually true.
yep.
So it's
That
all gotta
happens
be,
more often
it
than
all-
you
yeah.
think.
No,
No,
so-
I do, the reason I know that that could happen is because.
All right, so we could actually go to the supervisor and say, the county is 120 years old and we don't know what art we have. And so
Yeah.
it's never been tackled and the Arts Commission wants to tackle it and actually create an entire management structure and say, what's the piece of art? What's the provenal or whatever that term is?
Provenance.
Provenance.
And also what is like maybe update the values every 5 years and
True.
long-term, in a
Mhm.
decade or two.
Okay.
Sometimes places that own art need to sell some of it off.
And also you need to have a website so that people, that you can do a virtual tour of the
Exactly,
county's public
yeah.
art.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
that builds.
you
in
can see
two
that we're
FTEs right
creating quite a workload. And the part of our strategic plan was to analyze what's at the county level and what needs to be done. And this is it.
there. Yeah,
So, but it
So-
really could we could seriously, if you were to say to the other departments, we're going to centralize public art and it's all gonna be handled through the Office of Arts and Culture. And you no longer do it, you just work with us. You're still involved at the project level and the
Mhm.
architect level, but we would run it for you. That would be a one-time person. I mean, one
that's
full-time
one
position.
FTE right there.
Because if they just added the public art budget annually, what are we talking about? Like $1 million? If not more?
At least.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just depends. It's all the projects.
Yeah.
It's
Because we
it's
want-
all the projects.
So they would be
right.
managing, that could be, that, for the city of San Diego, that's one full-time person and more.
Mhm.
Okay. I can't stay too much longer.
Okay.
My garage door is broken.
Oh, no.
It looked like this right now. But I
And
think we made
my
great
printer
progress.
going belly up was a big deal, but your garage door.
Um,
So we've hit all the agenda items, except when's our next meeting gonna be?
Right, so let's work on that. And then, hey, guys, between now and the next meeting, can we look at second column? Because we need to really, that
Okay.
needs some effort on us to say, hey,
The
is this
money
making
column
sense?
or the description?
The
column?
second column, description.
Description column.
And then we also will have to start affixing, some values.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
these values were just guesstimates.
Okay.
They might be close, they may not, but look at, the grants program, the 200K, that
Yeah.
is the Previs money, just so you know.
Oh,
And that would
okay.
not be here, that's
So
coming out.
that's not coming from the
Yeah, so
county.
that's going
Okay.
out.
What about the marketing and communications plan? Would be an ask of the county?
Yeah, that would be part of this, definitely.
Okay,
That
and then-
50K, that's legit.
The launch of branding awareness initiative and the 3 networking, item C under engagement. Only 6,000 a year.
Again, that's what I mean, that's the next,
We
our
can tweak this and say
our
that
work
should
is
go
to
up, this should
really
go down.
flush that out.
So you're saying that the 200,000 doesn't need to be on here anymore, but what does need to be on here is the FTEs.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Is there would the previous money ever transfer to this budget, or would it always stay, if it continues, would it just stay where it's at, which is CE?
I'm not sure. So
Okay,
there's
that's an
possibly,
unknown.
yeah.
Okay. So down the road,
So-
we might have a grant program in here eventually.
Okay,
We'll see.
I'm in the dark about that, but you're gonna enlighten us at the
Right.
next general
Yes.
meeting, which is next week, right?
So
So,
we're meeting on the 18th. Okay.
wait, we have a general meeting. on
General
the
meeting, the
18th.
18th.
Darn it, why is this doing this?
Um, would you like to get together like the first week in October?
I'll be out of the country, but I like how you're thinking. The second week, I'll be back.
I'll be back from Europe on the 9th of October.
And
Oh,
that's when I get
so
back
anytime.
from Canada.
Okay.
So probably that first day back, we both need to
Okay.
like recoup,
So the 16th, we have a regular commission meeting on the 16th.
right?
So it'd be great if we could get together before the 16th, but you guys are not, we don't even, so
Well,
the
10th and
availability,
the 11th are good for
10th or
me.
11th, right?
The 10th, the 11th,
Oh, let's do,
the 14th and the 5th.
yeah.
Do you guys get Indigenous People Day off? No? Columbus Day, also
No,
called
no,
Columbus Day?
we don't.
Okay.
could we
So the
do,
14th and 15th also. So for me, 10, 11, 14, 15.
could we do
all
1
good.
o'clock on the 10th?
For me,
Yeah,
that works.
that
How about
works.
for you?
Okay.
Okay.
Who's missing? Are we just the only three? I thought there were someone else.
There's three, and then the youth is Annalise
I don't know.
is missing. Did she contact you or anything? Okay.
Annalise is our new one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And so were there just 4 of us on this? committee?
Yes.
Oh, so 3 is, got it.
three is a
Excellent.
quorum. So we're
Okay.
gonna do this at 1 o'clock
Yes.
and you'll send us out where it's gonna be.
Is it
Oh.
likely to be here?
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll be here for the next 6 months.
gotcha.
Okay.
You guys are actually out now? Over
Yeah,
there?
yeah.